Jai Hind everyone. I am Atul Kumar Singh, working as assistant professor in Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College. In this lecture, we will discuss the topic functions in C. So first, we will discuss what is a function. Basically, a function is a program segment that carries out some specific task. Means it is a set of instruction by which we can execute a particular task. For example, suppose we have to add two numbers. For that, we can create a separate program which is called as a function. Another example, we can create a function to find the larger set of n numbers. So whenever we invoked or called a function, it will perform its intended task. So basically, function is a set of blocks, or we can say a set of instructions. So why we need a function? So as suppose we have a large set of problems. In that problem, we can divide that problem into sub problems. Suppose problem 1, problem 2, and problem 3. So for at every problem, we can create a separate function. That terms basically it is called the concept of modularity. So it allows one to develop a program in a modular fashion. Second advantage, we can use an existing function as building block for new program. It means suppose we already have a function to solve a problem, we can use that function to develop another new program. A third benefit of using function is abstraction, or we can say it hide the internal details with the help of library functions. So basically, we can use a function without knowing the detail of that function. It is called abstraction. Next. So these are some basic points regarding function. Every C program consists of one or more function, or we can say a program can consist more than one function, but every program must contain a single function that is called main function. So one of these function, if we are using more than one function, then one of these function must be called main. Main function is used to start the execution of the program. So every program in C language must have a function named main, and the execution of the program will be start from that main. If we want to call a function, we can perform function call with the help of other function as a instruction. So this we will discuss in detail in the next slide. So suppose this is the function control flow, how the function control flow will be applied in C language. Suppose we have a function named void print hello, and other function is main. Every program in C must have a main function, and the execution of the program will start from main. So suppose this is our main function. Execution from start here. Then the first instruction is print hello. So print hello will be called by the main function. Whenever the call of a function is performed, the control of the compiler will transfer to that function. So the print hello function will perform its designated task and return back control to the main. Again, the main function call that print hello function. Again, the control will transfer to the print hello function. This print hello will function perform this designated task and return back to the main function. So this way, the control of a function flow among the different functions. So first of all, we need a main function. After that, we can have multiple function to perform designated or a specific task. Every call, first the execution will start from the main function. Then in main, we can call function many times. So there are two things. First, one is caller functions and one is callee functions. So calling function may pass information to the called function as parameters and arguments. So it means whenever we perform calling of a function, we can pass some information in terms of parameters and argument to the called function. So this called function may return a single value to the calling function. It means a called function can return only one value of any type to the called function. to the call function. So first we have a calling function which call the another function, and the called function is called callee. We can pass information from calling function to callee function by means of parameters and arguments, and a function can return only one value to the called function. So this is the example of caller function and called function. So we have a main function and we have another function which converts centigrade to Fahrenheit. So first main execution of the program will start here. After that it will call the function in terms of instruction. Here this is the calling of a function. This function is called function and this function is called called function, and this is called calling function. So here when the called function is called, the controller will transfer to that called function. So here we generate some result and return that result to the calling function. So this is our called function. This is the information we are passing from calling function to called function, that is called parameters. This is our called function. These are the parameters and this is our return value. A called function can return only one value to the calling function. Now there are two types of function. First one is called library function. Second one is called user defined function. So library function are declared in C header files, the already defined function which is included in C header files. Whenever we want to use that library function, we have to just include appropriate header file to our program and we can directly use that particular function. Examples of the library functions are scanf, printf, get, etc. Just you can include the header file and you can use whatever function you like to use. That is called library function or inbuilt function. It is also called inbuilt function. Now second one is your user defined function. These are the functions which are created by the C programmer so that they can use it many times. So these are the functions created by the programmer and the programmer can use many times. So basically with the help of user defined function we can optimize, or a programmer can optimize the codes. Okay. So now comes to definition of a function, or we can say defining a function. So definition of a function consists two parts. First one is headers or name of the function. Second one is the body of the function. So here is the syntax by which we can define a function. So first this complete line. This complete line is called header and this whole part is called body. So header consists three things. First is return type, which type of a value returned by the function. Second, the name of that function. Second one is the type of return. Then third one is function name and then parameter list. So basically three parts are there: return value type, then function name, and then parameter list. Then we have the body of the function. It consists declaration and statements. So let's discuss the definition part in detail. So the first line contains the return value type. It can be either integer type. A function can return integer type value. It can return float type value. It can return character type value. So this type will be defined by the return value type. Then we have the function name. Then the information, that is called parameters or arguments. Then it includes optionally a set of comma separated argument. By it means, suppose we have function name add, it will return integer type value. Then we have two values, int a and int b. So this function name add return integer type value, and it will use two parameters, that is integer type int a and int b. So we have a comma separated argument enclosed in parenthesis. Now each argument has an associated data type declaration. It means whenever we define a function and the parameter used by that function must be declared by any of the data type like integer, float, character, then the arguments are called formal arguments or formal parameter. It means in definition of the function, the parameter can be called as formal arguments or formal parameters. Okay, then the body of the function is actually a block of a statement that defines the action to be taken by the function. So it means the body defines which specific task that function is going to be performed. Okay. So this is the example of function definition. So first we have the return type, that is integer. Second, we have the function name, and third we have two types of argument, that is called formal parameters or formal argument. The data type of these two arguments are integer type. So this is the definition. Then this part is called body and it will return variable a. So this is the example of definition of a function. This function uses two formal parameters, one local variable, and perform some specific task. After that, it will return a value a to the calling function. Now, function prototype. So basically, it is a type of declaration. So function prototypes are usually written at the beginning of a program ahead of any function, including main. So let's take an example. Suppose this is our main function. This is our function definition. This is function prototype declaration, or we can say function prototype. So basically here we have to write the return type of the function. Then we have to write the function name. Then we have to provide the parameter list. After that, it is necessary to put semicolon at the end of function prototype. So a prototype can specify parameter names or just type. It means we can write this function as int factorial and just write int. So either we can write the variable name or just we can write the data type of that variable. Now examples: int gcd, we are using just variables data type, not write the name of the variable. In this example, the return type will be void and the function name will be div7, and this is the parameter that can be used by the function. So it is necessary to put the semicolon at the end of the prototype declaration. Now the parameter name, if specified, can be anything, but it is a good practice to use the same name as in the function definition. It means, so this is the definition part and this is declaration part. So we can change that name. We can change that and we can write int n. Here we can use int m, but here we can use int n. It is not necessary that you have to use the same name, but it is recommended that you have to use same name as function definition as well as function prototype declaration. So the output of that program will be factorial up to 10. Okay. Now how to call a function? Function can be called by some other function by in terms of instruction. So called by specifying the function name and the parameter in an instruction in the calling function. It means whenever we are going to call a function through a function, it can be called in terms of instruction, but in this instruction we have to write the function name and parameters we are going to pass that called function. For example, suppose I am creating a function int add two variables int comma int comma int comma int. Okay, now if I want to call that function into another function, suppose I am going to call that function in main function. So what can I write? I have to write add A comma B just as an instructions. So I have to pass the parameter value. At the time of calling, the value passed to the called function is termed as actual arguments or actual parameters. So when a function is called from some other function, the corresponding argument in the function call are called actual arguments or actual parameters. For example, this is our main function or calling function. This is our called function. So this is our calling function. This is our called function. So when we write that function name as an instruction, so here we are using three variables of double type. One variable is character type. Here we are calling the function operate and we are passing three values, that is x, y and op. So here in the definition of the called function we have three values, double x, double y and character op. So it is necessary the sequence as well as the data type should match with the definition of that function. So here x is of double type, y is also of double type and op is of character type. Now, so this is the calling, and whatever we pass at the time of calling in parameter list, that is called actual parameters. So x, y and op are actual parameters, and the receiving function term in the parenthesis, the parameters are called formal parameter. It means formal parameter receive the value of actual parameters. So here the function call must include a matching actual parameter for each formal parameters. Then position of an actual parameters in the parameter list in the call must match the position of the corresponding parameter in the function definition. Then the third point is the formal and actual argument must match in their data type. So in the example, as we have already discussed, these data type of these actual parameter will match data type of these formal parameter. Position of every actual parameter will match position of every formal parameters. Now, return value. A function can return a value, or we can say it can return a single value only. A single value to the calling function. So it is not necessary that every time we have to return value. A function does not return anything. At that time we have to declare the function as void. It means it does not return anything. So like all values in C, a function return value has a type. It can be either integer type, it can be either float type, it can be either character type, any data type. Now, the return value can be assigned to a variable in the caller function. So it means whenever we call a function, the called function return a value to the calling function, or we can say that value can be assigned to a variable. Now, for example, suppose we have three variables x, y, z, and z is used to accept the returned value by the called function. Here the function name GCD, and we are passing the actual arguments x and y. It will return a value to main function or calling function, and the value will be stored at z. So the return value can be assigned to a variable in the caller. Now, a function without returning a value, it means the type of the return of function is void. So it is not necessary that every time a function have to return a value. So you can create a function which does not return any values. For example, a function which prints if a number is divisible by 7 or not. Suppose we have a function, the return type of function is void, the name of the function is div7, and this is the formal parameter, that is int n. So this function will return if the number is divisible by 7 or not. So in that case, we does not return anything. We are simply using return. It means when this return instruction is executed, the control will automatically transfer to the calling function. So here we are not returning anything. Whenever we are not returning anything, the control is automatically transferred to the calling function, either read with the read of return statement or with the curly braces. That is optional. So here the return type of the function is void. So basically a function can return a single value either, or either it cannot return anything. Now return statement. So what is the use of return statement? Return statement is used to return something or return controller to the calling function. So in a value returning function where we have return type is not void, return does two distinct things: specify the value returned by the execution of the function, or terminate that execution of the callee and transfer control back to the caller function. It means if we are using return statement, so we can use return statement by two ways. With the help of return 0, it means it will return 0 to the callee function, or we can write like this: return semicolon. It means it will transfer the control to the callee function. Okay, next, a function can only return one value. As I have already said that a function can return any value, either it can be of integer type, float type, character type. So the value can be any expression matching the return type. The return type should match with the return type declared at the function name. If we are writing in this way, int add a function a comma b, and I am writing return 2.0. So it will create an error because we are returning a float value, but the function should return integer type value. It means the value can be any expression matching the return type, but it might contain more than one return statement. It means a called function can contain more than one return statement. So, but in a void function, return is optional at the end of the function body. If we want to write return keyword in the void function, it means the controller will transfer to the calling function. Or return may also be used to terminate execution of the function explicitly. Okay, no return value should appear following return. After return statement, we cannot write anything. So for example, suppose we have a program or a function compute and print income tax. We have multiple returns. So we can have multiple return statement. So if income is less than 50,000, then income tax will be null and return. If income is less than 60,000, income tax will be this and we can return. If income is 1,50,000, then income tax going to be calculated by this formula and we have to return. It means suppose we are using income is equal to 20,000. So either this condition will be true, this condition will be true, or this condition to be true. So our income is 20,000. 20,000 is less than 50,000. It means this condition is true. As soon as we find the first return, the control will transfer to the calling function. Okay. If this condition does not hold, then this return will be return control to the main function. If this condition not, okay.
हाँ सर 24 मिनट का हो गया, मतलब आप 4-5 मिनट में वाइंड अप कर सकते हैं सर अपना।
अच्छा कर सकता हूँ, ठीक है। Okay. So we can use a single return statement to return control back to the calling function. Okay. So we can use multiple return statement, but at a time only a single return statement will work. Now parameter passing. So when the function is executed, the value of actual parameter is copied to the formal parameter. It means we can copy the value of actual parameters to the formal parameter. So in this we have a main function and then we have a function named double area. So here we are passing the value of radius. The value will be copied to the formal parameter, that is double r. So basically r contains the value of radius. In that way we can pass the value from actual parameters to formal parameters. Okay. So based on the parameter passing, the category of function is divided into 4 parts. First one is function with no argument and no return, function with no return but argument value, function with return but no arguments, and function with return and argument. So basically based on the uses or return and arguments, we can divide the user defined function. Here we are dividing the user defined function in 4 categories. First one is function with no return and no argument, function with no return but argument, function with return but no argument, and function with return and argument. So first we discuss a function with no return and no argument. So in this method we won't pass any arguments to the function while defining, declaring or calling the function. We are not passing anything to the called function. This type of function in C will not return any value when we call the function from main or any sub function. The syntax of that we have to write void because we are not returning anything. The body of the parameter list should be empty because we are not passing any argument. So for example, here we have a function prototype declaration, that is void addition. Here the return type of function will be void and parameter list is empty. This will perform the addition when the main function call. That addition function control transfer to the addition. Here we perform addition of 2 numbers a and b and just print the value of sum. After that, when the control check that curly braces, it will automatically return to the calling function. So here we did not return anything and we are not using any parameter list. Second one is function with no return but with arguments. It means we are not returning anything but we are passing the arguments. So syntax will be void, we are not returning anything but we are passing some arguments. So example, so in this we are passing 2 arguments of integer type. It is not necessary to write down the variable name. Then the return type of that function will be void. So here int a and b are declared. We are calling that function with passing the value of a and b. Now that function receive these 2 parameters a and b, perform addition and it will print the addition of these 2 numbers. When the controller check or receive curly braces, it will automatically transfer to the calling function. So output will be printed here and value will be passed by that function calling. So third one is function with return but no argument. Here we are returning something but we are not passing any information to the formal parameter. So for that we are give data type, that is int, and we are not passing any information in function add. So when that function is invoked or called, the compiler will transfer or controller will transfer to the function. Then here we are declaring the value x, y, or we are performing the addition and we are returning that addition to C. So here the variable receive the value of addition of these 2 numbers. As soon as the controller find return, it will return to the main function. C will receive the value of addition of two numbers, and we can print the addition of two numbers. So by this way we can use return statement without arguments. So this one is the last function with return and arguments. So here we are using return type as well. Here this is small. Using return type as well as we are passing information. So here this is the call to the function add a comma b. This is actual parameters. The value of a and b will pass to the formal parameter. X and y receive the value of a and b. Perform addition and it will return z, and z will automatically receive at c. So here we are using return type as well as argument. So these four are the user defined based on return type and argument. So this is all about functions. Thanks.